I've always been a sci-fi nerd, the kind who grew up dreaming about hyperspace jumps, alien diplomacy, and, of course, artificial intelligence. From the loyal droids of Star Wars, R2D2 and C3PO, to the ever-capable, ever-charming Jarvis from Iron Man, AI in fiction has always been more than just code. It's been a character, a partner, sometimes even a threat. But here we are in 2025, and AI is no longer just a plot device. It's writing emails, detecting threats, generating art, and even helping businesses make decisions in real time. So the question is, what does it all mean? How far are we from those sci-fi depictions? Are we building helpful co-pilots or something we don't fully understand? In this episode, we're diving into the real-world role of AI in cybersecurity, the promise, the pitfalls, and the practical steps leaders can take to use it wisely. Come with me on this journey, out of the dark.
Thank you for that great intro. I call him Niles GPT, in case it wasn't clear. That entire intro, both the visuals and the voice, were AI. And that's today's topic in Out of the Dark, following up on our last discussion regarding risk management in general. And if you haven't listened to that part of this mini-series, I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to that episode first regarding risk management. We also included a free worksheet to help you get started on that. So you can grab that at centurycto.com/OOTD, and we'll put that up on the video portion of this episode. You also find a link down in the description so you can grab that worksheet and kind of follow along and work through creating your cybersecurity strategy in your business as we go through this. And what we're doing in this 5-part series is kind of building one episode along the other to help you have a comprehensive and effective cybersecurity strategy for your business. And we're going to take it one topic at a time. Last week, as I mentioned, we talked risk management, and today we're going to talk about AI in cybersecurity. What are the pros? What are the cons? Is it something that you need to be using in your business? And if so, how should you be using it? Years ago in the IT field, I would go to seminars and conventions, and the joke was, if you don't talk about AI, if you don't say AI in your presentation, then your product or service is outdated. And that was, probably 5 or 10 years ago in this field. Well, fast forward to now with ChatGPT and all the generative AI that we have, things look a little bit different. Of course, we still have to talk about AI, but the definition of AI is much, much more than we maybe anticipated several years ago. Now, defining AI, you can think about things from Star Wars and C3PO and think about Jarvis from Iron Man. And those would be what we'd call AI general intelligence or even AI superintelligence, especially in the case of Jarvis. So you might see those terms thrown around, AGI for general intelligence, or I don't know if they say ASI, but superintelligence would be a machine that is more knowledgeable and smarter than humans are, whereas your general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, is going to be as smart as all the people in the world. So, and that's kind of what we're approaching right now. And depending on who you ask, we're already at that point of AI general intelligence or artificial general intelligence. But the idea with that is that it's a computer system that can think and behave and be as smart as the average human. And not just an individual human, but collecting all of the knowledge in the world and across the internet and being able to rely on that for its resources. And so with ChatGPT 3.0 and kind of causing this big boom of AI and all the things we've seen in the years since, we're definitely approaching that if we're not there already. And we have to think, okay, what does this mean for the world? What does it mean for business, for our personal digital lives? How is this going to change things? Well, first of all, AI is not going anywhere. So, for better or for worse, AI as we know it, and as future iterations come down the pipe, it's here to stay. It's going to be a part of our lives now. And that's something that, especially as business leaders, we need to accept. And part of accepting that, we talked about this with James Haight in a previous episode. Again, a really good one. If you haven't caught that episode of our podcast, go check that out. But we were talking, um, well, and actually that one, but also with Eric Knight in our first episode. It's if you tell your employees, no, we're not going to use AI. Well, employees are going to use it anyway. You can't put it back in the box, so to speak. Um, and so adopting policies of how you can use AI and what is acceptable in your organization is something that you want to get ahead on. You don't want to take on unknown risks that AI brings and get caught with your pants down. So there's a couple things that AI can do for us, both good and bad. So first, let's talk about productivity. Uh, it is an invaluable tool to help you and your employees be more productive. And there's good ways and bad ways to use it. I think the worst way that you can use AI is, hey, AI, just do this work for me. If you have a job to do and you tell AI just to do it with no further instruction, the product that you get out of that is not very good, 9 times out of 10. But if you view it more as a coworker or a peer or a collaborator, now you start to see some really cool results. And in general, as I go about this, I'm talking about like AI chatbots that we're all used to. So ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Grok, um, all of these ones that as the most of us are used to. Um, and so if you work with those AI as collaborators, um, for instance, I'll give you an example of how I've written blog articles, educational articles using the assistance of AI. I don't know if you're this way, but for me, writing is really difficult because I'm constantly editing and correcting and fixing my writing as I go, and it slows me down a ton. I'm not one of those people who can sit down, write a bunch of stuff, and then come back and edit it later and just kind of get it done. So what I'm able to do with AI is I write a fast and poorly written article. I get my thoughts on paper. And it doesn't have to look good. It doesn't have to sound great. It doesn't have to be good for marketing. It doesn't have to be good for SEO, any of that. I can just get the article written. Then I can have AI do that hard work of, okay, take a look at what I've written, help me spice it up a little bit, add this tone, make it professional, make sure I explain things thoroughly. And then after AI gives me that result, I can go back in and edit what the AI has written. Make sure it sounds like me. Make sure that it's my thoughts and my knowledge, my voice, and then I publish it. And that whole process would take me, maybe 20 or 30 minutes versus 2 hours. And so even though I'm contributing to the work as well, AI is not just doing it all for me. It is a huge help. And that's just one example of how you can start using AI in your workforce. Now, what about cybersecurity? Well, of course, AI is allowing us to provide better, more robust cybersecurity than ever before. One of the biggest strengths of modern generative AI is its ability to process vast amounts of data more quickly than ever and pull out insights from that data better than ever before. It's the next evolution of computing where we had some of these automations and some of these security features, but it took a lot of resources for us to do that. Whereas now with generative AI, this technology is accessible to more people. It's easier to set up. It's easier for developers to implement. And so more of us have this at our fingertips. And we're seeing AI implemented in all sorts of software. Um, Another place that, like, just an example of that is talking about copywriting again with like blog posts and things. Before ChatGPT 3.0 came out, there were quote unquote AI uh, copywriting tools that would use AI to write a blog article, but they weren't super good. You had to provide a lot more input. There was always a lot of tweaking. That was a time when everything written by AI was extremely generic, and we even saw some of that with like ChatGPT coming out. Um, but those same tools now with generative AI as we have it today are infinitely better. The natural language that they use, the way that you can kind of insert your own tone and your own voice into these writing tools, it's just a night and day difference. Okay, so where should you start with implementing AI? Now, I think this is a little bit of a hot take. A lot of AI promoters um, are they're talking about, you need to be implementing AI today. You need to implement it now. You need to start using it now. If you're not using it, your competitor is, and they'll put you out of business. And while that is true to a degree, and there definitely needs to be some sort of adoption, the problem with that advice is they often don't follow up with how. And I've seen a lot of business owners very confused about what they're actually, like, in practical ways, what am I supposed to be doing with AI? And and that's where I say don't start with how can I implement AI? Start with what problems do I need to solve? What things do I need to be more efficient at? And then ask, is AI the solution for that particular problem? You can spend a lot of time chasing shiny new objects in your business, and AI is that big shiny new object right now for a lot of people. It can be a distraction. AI, it is going to replace jobs. It is going to be a big part of your business. Uh, it is going to do all those things, but when we get down to the individual level of you and your business, it might not replace, half your staff like it might a different company. It might not be something that you use every single day right now, whereas another company might do 90% of their work using AI, right? On an individual basis, you have to determine where it fits in best and what the best use of it is. But it is important for every single business leader, such as yourself, to learn what AI is, what it can possibly do for your business, and start evaluating it and constantly looking for opportunities to implement it. Just over, well, I think it might have been about 2 years ago. Tony, you probably remember this with that AI generated Will Smith eating spaghetti. Have you seen that? Yeah. So that was some of the very earliest AI generated video footage. Just a year later, uh, Chat, uh, let me get this right. It was OpenAI released their first version of Sora, their video generator, and someone created Will Smith eating spaghetti. And the phenomenal increase in quality. The old video, I mean, it was a mess. It was this whole distorted face and weird body parts morphing in and morphing out. And then the new one a year later, it looked like Will Smith. It looked very convincing. Um, and so the point of that is that this is the worst that it's going to be. Today is the worst that this technology is going to ever be. It is only going to improve. And we could go on and talk about the pros and the cons and the ethical concerns, and all of that's valid, don't get me wrong. But as I said earlier, AI is here to stay, and it needs to have some sort of place in your business, whether that's a lot or a little. So start assessing it. Talk to your employees, talk to your staff. What are the big problems that um, AI is really great at helping you with those repetitive tasks. So if there's a bottleneck in your company, where you're like, oh man, we need to hire more people, or this takes way more time than it should, or why are we paying someone to do this tedious task over and over and over? Those are the types of things where you need to sit back, work with your IT department and say, okay, is this where we can put AI in place rather than hiring another warm body? Maybe we can have AI do it. And the people that are currently doing those tedious tasks, they can be reassigned to do money making activities for your organization, things that really drive the business forward rather than tedious things. Now, the AI doesn't come just with benefits. It's something we're using in cybersecurity. Myself, my vendors, we use it to help analyze all of these cyber attacks happening, analyze activity that's happening on a network, things like that. And it helps us identify uh, the wrong activity and bad actors much more readily. But there are risks that come with it. So, one of the biggest ones is when you are adopting technologies quickly, sometimes you forget about the risks associated, and you forget about things such as vendor qualification. Vetting your vendors, the people that are running these AI tools, are they trustworthy? They're housing a lot of this data that you're inputting into the AI tool. Have you Do you know who this company is? Are they a brand new startup, or are they a company that has a reputation and is trustworthy? Um, do they have security certifications like SOC 2 or other standards that they follow to make sure that they're housing that data in a secure and appropriate fashion? There's other limitations, and these pose risks when it comes to AI as well. And one of the things is going to be the context window. And what that basically is how much, you kind of think of it like how much memory your AI has. So uh, think about, maybe you're having a conversation with your significant other. It's in the evening, and you ask your significant other, "Hey, did you feed the cat this morning?" Now that was maybe 8 hours ago, right? Now, in terms of AI context window, let's say it's a very small context window, and the AI can only think back 2 hours. Well, then the AI is going to say, "Oh no, the cat hasn't been fed." But maybe you did feed the cat at 8 o'clock. And due to that limitation, the AI is giving you wrong information simply because it doesn't know about that. On top of that, you've probably heard of AI hallucinations. And this is something that's constantly being worked on. In a month, maybe this will look like really outdated information. But AI, one of the biggest early problems that we see with this generative AI is that based on all this information that it has from the internet and around, it will sometimes just make stuff up when it doesn't have the answer. And it's troubling, especially as we continue to use AI and we want to rely on it. If we just trust AI outright and we don't do any fact checking or anything, uh, that's a big problem. And I'll give you an example of some AI researchers, and this was in the early days. Well, I guess I relative early days compared to what we have now. But this was before all of this generative AI. It was a system that they were testing uh, simply to identify whether an animal was a wolf or a dog. That was its whole job. And I believe this was talked about in a TED talk, is where I was hearing about it. Um, but regardless, this system, it would be shown a picture and, okay, is that a wolf or a dog? Is that a wolf or a dog? And something that you might not realize about AI systems, and this is pretty core part of what AI really is at its core, it is a program that writes its own code. So a human will write a small amount of the code, they set it free, and then it kind of grows and learns naturally from there to at least some degree, right? So this system, they noticed that it was starting to identify these dogs as wolves. It was incorrectly identifying them. And this was happening over and over. Now, because the program had kind of written itself, it had just learned on the training data that was given to it. They didn't know why this was happening, and they really didn't have a way to know. This machine was rogue at this point, right? So what they did is they rewrote the program and they made sure to include some debugging so that they could figure out what was actually going wrong with it. And what they discovered is that all of the information that was fed into the system originally, into the AI, a lot of it included most of the pictures of wolves that they fed it and trained it on. Those wolves were in the snow. And so what they found out is that when they were showing it pictures of animals, the AI was not even looking at the animal to determine whether or not it was a wolf or a dog. It was just looking at the background. And if it saw snow, okay, it must be a wolf. And so all these pictures of dogs in the snow, it thought they were wolves. You're like, okay, well, that's pretty inconsequential. Big whoop. Okay, well, let's say you're relying on AI for your marketing strategies. And you say, hey, I need you to give me every person who clicks on my website who has an annual gross income of 250,000 or more, and they're between the ages of 25 and 35, and I need to target them with some advertisement or what have you. And uh, it's misidentifying those people. And instead of feeding ads and spending all of your money and advertising budget on the correct demographic, it's serving up ads to, you know, 12-year-old children who play Roblox and, on summer break. That's a lot of wasted time and energy and money, right? And even if it's an AI system saving you time, it's still spending a lot of money on the wrong thing. And so you can waste a lot of money with the wrong implementation of AI. You can get bad information from AI if you're not careful. And it's not to say that these are game breakers, or these aren't going to stop implementation of AI, and it's certainly not going to stop AI from improving. But these things have to be considered and watched for before you end up with egg on your face and money wasted. And when we're talking about people's jobs, if you make a bad enough blunder with that, maybe you're looking for a job the next day. So these are things to be cautious about, things that your IT department can help you with, um, to make sure that you're using it responsibly. Now, the other part of that is talking about like just regular AI chatbots. Again, is finding out which AI your company will use. And we're going to talk about policies and procedures in an upcoming episode. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss that when we come out with it. But an AI policy that says what you do and do not use AI for, which AI tools you do and do not use in the company, outlining those things ahead of time is going to protect all of your sensitive information, and it's going to empower your employees to use AI in a secure manner. They're going to be able to use the tools that they want to, in terms of being able to use an AI chatbot. But you as an organization can direct that to make sure that it's happening responsibly, and you're minimizing that risk. Um, Something to look for when you're vetting and choosing a particular AI program is, one, how do they train the AI? What data are they using? How are they obtaining that data? Uh, because that is going to kind of dictate not only how effective the AI is at giving you good, reliable information, but there might be some liability there. Uh, they might be, unfortunately, in the world, we've seen more theft where some companies have not responsibly obtained their training data, and there's potential fallout for that. You can look at what their privacy policy is. Do they train their AI on the data that you input? As a general rule, for business especially, I would recommend not using AI that trains on the data that you input. Um, when when you have your employees comfortable using an AI, they are going to input sensitive information. It's going to happen. I don't care how many times you tell them to scrub the data of any identifying material before inputting it into AI, it's going to happen. Employee so and so is going to say, "Oh, this client, and here's their name, and here's their business name, and here's their address and phone number and email, and I need you to help me write a complex contract for it, or whatever," and give it all these sensitive details about a big deal that you're making with a new client. It's going to happen. So if the AI you're using does not have, if they don't train on your data, that's best. Um, you also want to look at, again, what kind of company is this? Are they reputable? Have they been around a while? Are they following security standards? Um, and then, things that are just things that you want to evaluate anyway when you're implementing new technology. What kind of systems do they integrate with? Is this a tool that's going to be siloed and I can only use AI here, and I have to struggle to get information out into other systems? Or does it work with our current workflows? And if it's a big enough tool, maybe you want to change your workflows to adapt to the new AI tool. But these things all cost time and money, of course. So if you think about them ahead of time and you plan for it, you'll be in a much better space when you implement, and you'll be prepared to make changes as necessary. And then, lastly, but not least by any means, is training your staff. One of yeah. So I was meeting with a buddy the other day, and he's a little bit younger than me, and so he's definitely more comfortable with these tools than I am. And I'm still at the age where it's like, okay, I'm going to go Google that. Well, people nowadays, younger people especially, it's not, oh, let me Google that. It's, oh, let me ask my AI assistant here. Let me ask Grok. And that's who he pulled up. He pulled up Grok and asked a question. And um, it, the people are getting extremely comfortable with AI very quickly. People who have seen the benefits are super excited to be able to use this in their everyday lives, which is great. But people are not aware of how many security issues there are. And that's the thing is, um, again, as a society, I talk about this all the time. We need to be training each other on what we've learned, good and bad. If you've gone through a data breach at your company, share that story, share what you learned from it, how you're, protecting yourself um, to not face that again, what other people can do to protect themselves. Share those lessons. And in the same way, share your story of AI. So yeah, I mean, my buddy, he pulls up Grok, he asks it a question, and he's like, "Oh, here's the information." And I was a little surprised at just like how at face value he took the answers. Now the cool thing, AI does cite sources now most of the time. I've noticed that's finally in there, so you can kind of do your own fact checking, and it's a little easier and still beneficial to use AI. But yeah, people just don't realize the risks. So don't assume that your employees, young or old, understand the risks that are associated with it. Because a lot of times we focus on all the benefits, which is fantastic. I mean, that's why you're implementing it, right? You want to see the benefits, you want to see the time savings. Um, but don't do it in such a way where you're being reckless and putting yourself at harm's way without even realizing it. So, where are things going from here? It's hard to predict. AI is staying around. It's going to grow. It's going to get better and better and better. Now, the hope, for a lot of people at least, is that we're able to achieve some sort of AI superintelligence. We do see brain computer interfaces already where people's brains are literally being hooked into computer systems. And the hope for some of these companies developing this is that one day we'll be able to interface with AI directly. Um, Neuralink is a company. They've got some patients already hooked up. They had a YouTube video with one of the patients where this patient who was, um, they had no control of their limbs or anything. They were paraplegic. Uh, had this brain interface installed, and they were able to play video games. And they're like, yeah, for the first several nights when I had this up, I was just staying up all night playing games because I haven't been able to do that in forever. Um, so it's pretty crazy, like sci-fi type of things. And um, you know, we look at movies like Iron Man again, where maybe something like Jarvis will exist sooner than we think, where it's that AI superintelligence. Um, and of course, there's risks. Other people are afraid of something like Terminator, where the machines rise up against humans, and there's kind of that bleak side of things. But in the immediate future, what we're seeing, and we're seeing it already, we see a lot of benefits from AI. We see bad actors using AI against us. We see more cyber attacks, more sophistication. Uh, it's making everybody's job easier and faster, including the hackers. So it's a little bit of a battle, just like with anything else. It's not anything I'm alarmed about. I think overall, I would say it's a very positive outlook with what AI is going to bring. It's just a matter of educating ourselves, educating our staff, and making sure that we don't take benefits for granted, and that we always consider the risks. And hopefully that's what got your curiosity and your thoughts flowing on that, and helping you brainstorm about how you can do that. Um, but yeah, I think if we all keep it top of mind, we'll be better off as a society. So um, definitely start getting a AI policy put together. Determine what AI tools you will and will not allow within your organization, and then train all of your employees on doing that. Think about how are you going to embrace AI in a safe, responsible manner. Now, again, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and grab our free worksheet on centurycto.com/OOTD, or out of the dark, centurycto.com/OOTD. Grab your free worksheet where we help you do a risk assessment on your organization. And we'll be sending out further handouts as we go through these episodes as well. And next episode in this mini series, I don't know the exact release order. We might have some guests in between there as well. But on our next part of this series, we're going to talk about our incident response planning. What do you do when the worst happens? So make sure to get subscribed, like, comment, and we will see you when we release that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. My name is Niles Benghauser. I'm your host of Out of the Dark.